For that split of a second, I thought, wow, I was wrong. Until Mom Albertina Sisulu saved the day.
Can I speak? That moment saved you.
That moment.
Imagine if we had said, no, Mom, ungakhulumi.
Do you know, I want to tell another story that maybe it is the first time that I'm sharing it in a public platform.
Let's hear it.
I had known the song Imbube all my life, and I know it is being performed all over the world.
It's stolen.
Stolen.
Yeah.
I did not know Ogutgand it comes from my family. Gibson comes out of his house, starts his BMW, and he drives a woo.
Oh.
I ended sleeping in that garage for 3 months. Because when he came back, uyakhumbula sahlangana eThekwini wathi wanginika address wathi hayi mfana umsebenzi awukho phindele ekhaya eNatal.
King David Studio podcast.
I have a legend today, a man whose his name is in New York somewhere. Ubabu Umbongeni Ngema. Your name is in New York somewhere as a star. Am I correct?
Correct.
Tell me about that. What is that? What is that acknowledgement? I know the one in LA with the Walk of Fame.
Yes.
What is this one in New York?
In New York, it's a Walk of Fame. In LA, what they celebrate mostly is the movie stars in Hollywood.
Yes.
And in New York, they celebrate the theater on Broadway.
Ah.
And my name is on the Walk of Fame as one of the greatest writers of the 21st century.
My goodness. How does that make you feel? Listen to the size of that title. One of the greatest writers of the 21st century.
Well, you know, it makes me feel, I did not understand when they put that star there. I said, what, me? Well, you know, alongside Samuel Beckett, who's the greatest English writer, you know, and
of all time,
and Bertolt Brecht, you know, the greatest writer of who wrote all those stories of Nazi Germany, you know, about Hitler, and then they put my name next to Bertolt Brecht. I said, wow. What is this?
So you say you didn't get it?
I didn't understand it because I was young at the time. But now I understand. In front of the Lucille Lortel Theatre, because Lucille Lortel herself, who created that theatre, she is monumental. Yeah. She's this woman who created such depth in the theatre world and highly respected.
Incredible, eh? You see, people like you. Abo Jonathan Butler and Abo Trevor Noah. You help us, eh? You put our name on the map as South Africa. Yeah. But you've always flown the South African flag so high and been a proud South African everywhere you went. What is the importance of that for you, of making sure that nobody ever forgets where you're from?
You know, I always say to people, but we're in Hlwathi. I come from South Africa, but specifically from where? From Hlwathi.
Yes.
Next to KwaNongoma and KwaHlabisa.
Yeah.
And for me, that is very important because in Kabayami, Ipuma that's my root. Mm-hmm. And then you ask yourself, how does it happen? He's all over the world. I can't answer that.
Really?
Only my ancestors can. If they could speak, they could. If they could tell the story, they would say, "No, we took this boy from here. We placed him KwaMashu. We placed him at Soweto. We placed him all over South Africa, and then we placed him in the world."
When you look at your life now in retrospect, as Grootman, do you have an answer to maybe this is the reason? Is there anything that you're able to identify and say, maybe this is why they did this, your ancestors?
It's the guitar. But, you know, I want to tell another story that maybe it is the first time that I'm sharing it in a public platform.
Let's hear it.
You know, Solomon Lindantsele, who composed Imbube.
Yes.
Which has been performed and recorded by more than 200 Americans. And even now, Lion King, that's the biggest song in Lion King. Mm-hmm. One day, another old woman comes to my house in Bryanston. a car had broken down, and this man said, "Ngiyamazi umbongeni unendlu la eBrownston." So they looked for the house, and they arrived, and then I gave them a place to sleep. So this woman happens to be Umprofeti,
Okay.
a foreteller.
Yeah.
So I just served them dinner. The sisters to my mother had come from Inhlwathi. They're sleeping in the bedroom. She looks at me. She says, I'd never seen her before. And she says, "Ubani Ben Mwandla?" And I say, "Ben Mwandla? I don't know who you're talking about." Athi, "Hayi man, mangibuka ngibona ukhona uBen Mwandla useduze kwakho, and he is saying to me, you think this gift that you have come from the Ngema family. It does not come from the command such a big audience, artistically, technically." And I would turn around and look at them and say, "You know, boys, you don't have the experience that I have. I have the best of both worlds. I grew up in the rural areas. I also grew up in the township. Combine these two things and bring them to the theater world. You are never going to match me, because you don't have that experience of growing up in rural life.
You're one-dimensional. And when you were multi-dimensional.
I'm multi-dimensional. I first of all grew up in Verulam in the city space. I then grew up in rural, deep rural. And then I came to the township. So my mental encyclopedia is so broad. So that when I now approach the music or the theater world, I can tap into each one of these worlds. And where now you can only tap into the township life that you know. So what am I saying? I come back from rural Zululand back into the city of Durban. And it was very interesting, those years, bese bafana babuye Soweto, sabeza bakhuluma isiSuthu, siseThekwini, we don't understand this language. Tswana or Sotho or Tina, it was the same thing. AbeSuthu. Most of the Sotho speakers. Yabeza bakhuluma but hey mara what what's about man until manje bafana.
In my case, it is fun.
But what was very interesting, because music was always there. I would always, even coming from Zululand, coming back to Durban, now going to school, wearing my school uniform and my suitcase, but my guitar was always in my hand. Always there in my hand. And then at some point, then I get to be exposed to the bands again, now in Durban. Now I'm playing with a band, Claremont. Ngihlala kwaMashu. Ngihamba ngestimela njalo, I'm going to school eMlazi. Then I get hooked up to these guys who are playing at Claremont in a band. So I go to the band. Now doing matric, I was very good in English, and in history. Those days, when the invigilators come to test the school, the principal would select the best students in each class. I was a scholar in English, so I was one of those. Was a scholar in history. But at this point in time, because now I'm more involved with the bands. Now this is the time, I looked at your wall, the albums. This is the time when Abosipho Mabuse were with the Beaters.
The Beaters, yes. There is an album behind me of the Beaters. Yes. Very skinny.
Very skinny. Hey, and they come at Claremont. I mean, I remember at that time, and there was this man who went at dry clean, Lex. He was from Springs, Guatemala.
He was in KZN.
He was in Durban, been at dry clean at Claremont, and his daughters were beautiful. And we, song we wanted those girls. Hey, so when you figure out Pagopra Lex, hey, Bengtanda, he loved my talent. Hey, but I'm eyeing his daughters. Hey, kufika abo Sipho Mabuse nama Beaters. Ngizwa uBra Lex uthi, hey, lungani bantu bami, lungani nibebahle, gqokani kahle na ama-beaters asefikile.
And wena kudala ulapha.
Bekudala ngikhona.
Askis.